Hello FPL managers and welcome back for another video. My name's Jack and today we're going over our first draft or sort of mock draft for game week 1 as the launch of the FPL season is just around the corner. So I'm going to have a look at a team that I do like for the start of the new Premier League season. If you guys are looking forward to the new Premier League season as well or are new to the channel, leave a like and subscribe. It really does help us out, and also click those notification bells as well so you don't miss any future FPL videos in the build up to the new season, and of course plenty of FPL content all throughout the year. And today's video is brought to you by NordVPN. They are currently running a 63% off promotion right now, so click the top link in the description to find out more. And with that being said, let's jump into the video. So let's have a look at the full 15-man squad. I just want to set this up by saying that all of the pricing and player prices that have been used in this video are based off FPL planners, price predictions. Most of them I do agree with. They are fairly reasonable, and according to FPL planners, pricing of all the players, this squad is coming in at exactly £100 million. Obviously, I wouldn't expect these prices to be exactly correct, but I think a lot of them will be very, very close. So I think this is a pretty accurate read of how much this team will cost once FPL is launched. But it's always good to get some planning underway, sort out the team, have a look at some players that I like for the first few game weeks of the new year. So here is the 15-man squad. Starting off in goals, I've gone with Aaron Ramsdale. I really like him. I expect him to be priced at around £5 million. I think this is a reasonable price for Aaron Ramsdale. Wasn't a massively high scoring keeper, but was still one of the better keepers in FPL last season. So I think he at 5 million, if he is priced at this price point, will be a very, very good option. If he does go up to 5.5, I could potentially look to go for a 4.5 keeper instead, as I'm not quite sure 5.5 is a price I'd be willing to pay for Ramsdale. But at 5 million, with Arsenal's fixtures to start the year, I think he could be a really, really good option. A Forest at home, game week 1, of course, a great way to get the season underway for Arsenal in terms of easiness of fixture, and it's a good chance for a clean sheet at the Emirates for Ramsdale, so I like him. If he's coming in at 5 mil, he does allow us to spend a little bit more money around the squad as well. Speaking of, let's have a look at the defender picks now. Pervis Estupiñán is our first defender here. He's got Luton at home in game week 1, and Brighton have some very underrated fixtures in their first 5 to 6 fixtures of the new season. I really like these Brighton fixtures. I was going over some of their assets in our most recent video of the teams and players to target. Estupiñán was one of those players amongst a couple of other Brighton options who I like for the upcoming FPL season. Estupiñán, very, very good underlying numbers in terms of assisting last season, ranked amongst the top 5 defenders for assists, expected assists, ranked 4th for attempted assists. He has some really good positioning, was overlapping quite well, making some really good attacking runs. So he's got very, very good positioning, great underlying numbers from an attacking standpoint. And Brighton's defense was fairly strong last season. Estupiñán did notch up double digits for clean sheets last year, and Brighton did have an expected clean sheets figure of well over 10. So I do like Estupiñán as an option that can offer value at both ends of the pitch. I predict him to be at around 5.5. I think this is a reasonable price for Estupiñán given his decently high attacking potential and Brighton's fairly solid defense. Moving on, Lisandro Martinez, another player that I really like. I expect him to be priced at 5 million for Manchester United as a centre-back. I think those Man U assets are slightly being overlooked right now. I really like the Manchester United starting 5 or 6 fixtures. They have 4 or 5 really, really good fixtures to go after in their first 6 or 7 game weeks. So I like Martinez for that reason. And at 5 mil, which is where I predict him to be, I think he's also an option that can be rotated onto the bench if need be. I will go over the bench a little bit later on in the video, but I like Martinez here at 5 mil. I think he's a good way to capitalize on that Manchester United defense. I could have gone for De Gea in goals, but there is a bit of uncertainty around De Gea, and I think he's going to be a bit more expensive in terms of price compared to Ramsdale. So for that reason, Martinez, he's going to be in there playing every single week for Manchester United. And I think Luke Shaw is going to be a little bit too expensive to go after. So I still like Martinez there. And Andy Robertson is currently the 3rd starting defender. This could easily change to Trent Alexander-Arnold, just depending on how I set up the rest of the team. I will discuss that when I go through the midfielders, actually, what I could do if I downgrade a midfielder. I could upgrade Robertson to Trent. I expect Robertson to be priced at 6.5. He could potentially be at 7 as well, but FPL Planner do have Robertson Robertson, predicted to be at 6.5 million. Maybe a little bit low there. 7 mil could be a more reasonable price for Robertson. He was one of the higher scoring defenders last season and has excellent attacking potential. He, of course, ranks in the top 5 for all the key stats in terms of assisting, expected assists, attempted assists, and total assist amongst defenders last year. And Liverpool do have some pretty decent fixtures to start the new season. Obviously not the best in terms of clean sheet output last year, Liverpool, but I'm still a massive fan of their fullbacks, whether it's Robertson or Trent. Both of those guys, they get forward, they provide assists, and Liverpool generally is a fairly strong defence. Despite being a little bit weaker last season, I'm sure they can bounce back and pick up that clean sheet tally like we've seen in previous years. Moving on to the midfielders now, we've gone with a 3-4-3 formation, so 4 starting midfielders here. Bukayo Saka is the Arsenal midfielder that we're going after. I expect him to be priced quite highly at 9.5 after notching up over 200 points last season and being on penalties for Arsenal. I think that is the main appeal of going for Bukayo Saka over those other mids of Odegaard and Martinelli. Saka having those pens is going to give him so many extra chances to score goals throughout the season. He converted 2 penalties, I believe, last year. So he was able to profit from pens where Odegaard and Martinelli weren't able to do so. Unfortunately, you do have to pay a little bit extra to access Bukayo Saka at 9.5 mil. I would expect Saka to be more expensive than Odegaard and Martinelli, but as I said before with Robertson is predicted at 1 mil less than Trent, so maybe if I wanted to, I could drop Saka down to either a Martinelli or Odegaard at 8.5 and then go from Robertson up to Trent. It's just going to depend on whether I prefer Robertson and Saka or potentially Martinelli and Trent. I'll have to weigh that decision up, but right now I'm happy with Robertson and Saka as my options, as I think Robertson will match Trent fairly similarly for points this season. Obviously, they both capitalise on clean sheets when Liverpool get clean sheets. Where, of course, Saka, if he scores a goal, that's obviously points that Martinelli and Odegaard aren't getting. So I do like Saka for those reasons. So I'm probably going to compare or pair him up with Robertson right now as it stands. Obviously, the most ideal situation would be to have Alexander-Arnold and Saka on the team, but I still am happy with Robertson nonetheless. Mo Salah is in the midfield as well. It was a bit of a headache trying to set up this team with Salah and Haaland, considering that Haaland is such an expensive option. Obviously, he is such a good pick, and I will discuss him a little bit later on in the video. But Salah, a really good premium that I want to go after in midfield. Liverpool have some good fixtures to start the season. Salah had the second highest expected goals figure out of any player in FPL last season, only behind Erling Haaland, was the top scoring midfielder, and I think he is always a very, very good option to have at the start of any new Premier League season for FPL. And looking at the two other mids, Solly March and Damari Gray, two mids that are coming in at a little bit of a cheaper price point. March at 6.5, Damari Gray currently priced at 5.5. I will discuss him in just a minute, but Solly March, a player that I really like, he's probably going to be half a mil cheaper than Matoma. I expect Matoma to be priced at 7 mil. Hopefully, March come in at 6.5, a little bit cheaper. Had some very similar underlying numbers to Matoma last season in terms of per 90 stats. Matoma did play significantly less minutes than March last season, but only had a slightly higher expected score involvement per 90. I believe Matoma was 0.63 compared to March, who was around 0.6. So very, very similar expected score involvements, and the actual goals and assist output per 90 was almost identical as well. So for March at 0.5 cheaper, definitely is the better value option in my opinion. So that's why I do want to go for Solly March. Luton at home in Game Week 1. Brighton is a team that I want to go after early on in the season, and Solly March in midfield allows me to do that. So I'm very happy with Solly March in the team. And this last midfielder slot is kind of the position that suffers the most from having both Salah and Haaland in the team, as these two players do use up a significant amount of the budget, especially if Haaland is priced at where I predict him to be, which I will discuss in just a moment when I get to the forwards. Damari Gray is predicted at 5.5. There is a bit of uncertainty around his future at Everton as well. A few clubs are looking to pick him up, so obviously Gray will only remain in the team if he is still at Everton. If he does change teams, his starting minutes may reduce, his positioning may be a little bit different, and his price could ultimately change as well if he goes to a better club. But Damari Gray are predicting to be at 5.5, as does FPL Planner. He had a fairly decent expected goals figure per 90, and Everton actually have some pretty good fixtures to start the new season. So Gray definitely will be more of a differential punt, but if he does stay at Everton, he's got good underlying stats there. His XG per 90 is around 0.3, which isn't too far off the likes of Bruno Fernandes, who's a lot more expensive than Damari Demarai Gray. And with those really good short-term Everton fixtures in the first 5, I think they do have some very, very good fixtures that I haven't seen too many people hype up as much as some other teams. I think he could be a great differential in midfield at just 5.5 if he is priced at this figure. Otherwise, I could drop Saka down to either Martinelli or Odegaard once again to be able to afford an extra mil to upgrade Demarai Gray even further. But right now, I am pretty happy with him in this position at just 5.5 in the midfield, as it does allow me to have 3 forwards as we now move on to the front 3. It's gone with Ferguson, Mbeumo, and Erling Haaland. A really good front 3 in my opinion. Mbeumo could be an interesting one in terms of what his FPL position would be. He was a forward last year, had a lot of time in that front part of the pitch, and especially with Tony out of the side now, I can see why FPL would want to position him as a forward once again. As with Tony out, you'd have to expect Mbeumo to be playing more of an attacking role, which should see him remain as a forward in FPL. If he does get changed to a midfielder, I probably will still be going for him in the team. I think he's a great pick at both either forward or midfield. As with Tony out, Mbeumo is going to be the main goal threat for Brentford. He was very, very good last season, notched up quite a few FPL points, and if he is priced at 6.5, which I predict, he could be a very good value option to start the season. Brentford have some pretty good fixtures coming up, a lot of really strong home fixtures. They've got Spurs at home in GW1, which definitely isn't the worst fixture by any stretch of the imagination. Brentford are a very, very good side, so I would expect Mbeumo to get amongst the goals early. 6.5 I think is a good price. Whether he is going to be a forward or midfielder, that is the only thing, but I think regardless of his positioning, I will be getting him in my team. Ferguson is the third Brighton player. He's coming in at the same price, I predict, as Mbeumo in this front 3. It's a triple up on Brighton here with Estupiñán, March, and Ferguson. He's got Luton at home in Game Week 1. A very, very good fixture, of course. I've touched on Brighton's fixtures earlier on in the video. I like them a lot for the first 5 or 6 game weeks. Ferguson, a player that Brighton have invested quite a lot in. They've put a lot of time and are getting him in a lot of starting minutes last season as well, which was very, very beneficial for him. He was averaging about a goal and an assist every 2 games, so definitely not the worst underlying numbers, about a 0.5 goals and assist figure per 90. Not the worst stat for Ferguson at 6.5 mil. He's only going to improve, only going to get better with experience and age. Such a young player with so much upside for Brighton in their future. And as I've said, those fixtures will make it a little bit easier for him to find FPL points early on in the season. So if he is priced at 6 to 6.5, I think he's going to be a very popular forward option to start the new year. And as the third forward slot in the team, it's no surprise to see Erling Haaland here. He is coming in at what I predict to be the most expensive player in FPL at £14 million. Obviously, this is quite a high price, but it is what FPL Planner predict as well on their website. I think 13.5 to 14 could be where Erling Haaland sits. I expect him to be a lot of money though, so it is going to make it hard to go for 2 premiums to start the new season. As you can see here, I have had to drop Trent down to Robertson. I've had to have Demarai Gray in midfield to make that Salah and Haaland combination worthwhile. We'll have to see what Erling Haaland's price is. It's probably going to be the most anticipated price of the FPL launch of this season. So it will definitely be very interesting to see where Erling Haaland comes in at. I don't really have to sell him too much in terms of being a good FPL option. He was the highest FPL point scorer last year, 36 goals, the highest expected goals figure, had so many chances for Manchester City, and I only see him getting better for them. So I think Haaland will have, once again, a very, very good season for Man City. And of course, he has to take the captain's armband as well. Mo Salah gets given the vice captain's armband. It's going to be very hard to take Haaland off captaincy this season. He's pretty much non-negotiable in my team. I like him so much, and he's probably going to be the highest owned player in FPL as well, despite being so expensive. And with that starting 11 covered, let's have a look at the bench now. As the goalkeeper, I'm just going to go with any 4 mil keeper when the game does get announced. I'll try to avoid any popular teams as well. I think that's a key decision to make when you're choosing your bench and you're choosing your minimum price players. Try not to pick players from teams where they have a lot of good FPL assets, as you are only allowed 3 players from one team. So make sure when you're choosing your 4.0 keeper and your 4.5 mid, if you do so, that you pick players from less popular teams where you're probably not going to have many FPL assets from. So it's going to be any 4 mil keeper at that price. Patterson as well, I like him. I expect him to be priced at 4.0. He should be getting a lot of starting minutes now for Everton in that fullback fullback role. He was very, very good for Everton. Last season when he was fit, he was being preferred in their fullback role. So I like Patterson for that reason. Everton have some really good fixtures to start the new year as well. So for that reason, Patterson, if he is at 4.0, a really, really good pick. Even at 4.5, still an option worthwhile considering. He plays in a fullback role in an Everton side managed by Sean Dyche, who should increase their clean sheet tally this season, and they've got good fixtures to start the new year. So Patterson, a great option there. Pinnock as well, I expect him to be at 4.5 in a Brentford defence that was extremely strong last season. They've got some great fixtures coming up, and he does alternate well with a couple of my other defenders here in Martinez and also Patterson as well. Their fixtures do alternate quite nicely to make sure when I'm planning out the team for future game weeks, I can always have a good starting three good defensive picks with really good fixtures with a good chance of a clean sheet. So I like Pinnock there at 4.5. I think it's a reasonable price for him. I think he will be one of the cheaper Brentford defenders, and he was one of the highest scoring players, priced at 4.5 amongst defenders, so I like Pinnock for that reason. And as the last player in the team, it will just be any 4.5 midfield option. That is the minimum price for players in the midfield. Hopefully, I can get a player that is playing in most games that has somewhat decent attacking potential. Lamina for Wolves, hopefully is priced at 4.5. Harrison Reed as well could be coming in at 4.5. There are going to be obviously new players from promoted teams coming in at 4.5, but obviously I will decide which midfielder to go for at this price point once I have all my options available to me. But once again, I probably won't pick a player from a popular team with good FPL options. Once again, just to make sure I don't take up any of the important 3 slots from any good teams with great FPL picks. But that is currently how the team is set up for game week 1. I like this side right now as a sort of a pre-draft or a mock draft before FPL does get launched. It's a pretty strong side. There are a couple of good differentials in there. I would expect Damari Gray to be a good differential. Lissandro Martinez, I don't see him having a massive ownership. Robertson is going to be more likely to be a differential compared to Trent as well. Ramsdale and goals should also be a decent differential pick. So I'm liking the team for game week 1. It's got Salah and Haaland in there, which I do really like, having the double premiums, especially Salah in midfield. By having players at this high price point, it does give me a bit more flexibility in terms of transfers, being able to downgrade to players easier, bringing new players into the team easier as well. So I'm pretty happy with how the team is set up in this 15-man squad. Thanks for watching today's first draft and mock draft for game week 1 of the new FPL season. I hope you guys enjoy this one, and I'd be interested to see your guys' thoughts on this team and also the teams that you guys are thinking of making before FPL does launch. Or if you've already made a team, let me know about that as well. Of course, if you are new to the channel or are looking forward to the new FPL season, leave a like and subscribe. I really do appreciate it, and as always, have those notification bells turned on so you don't miss any future videos in the build up to the new season. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one.